I don't know what you all are talking about, but everybody I talk to is talking about what Donald Trump doesn't want to talk about. So let's talk about it. It being the conspiracy surrounding his old dancing buddy, Jeffrey Epstein. There you go.
It was Holocaust Remembrance Day, and as you know, 6 million people were at my inauguration. I mean, there were just so many people at my inauguration, but the media refuses to cover it. It's so unfair. And one day I'm going to write a memoir about this struggle and call it My Struggle.
The greatest comedy gift in modern politics has always been Donald Trump. He's the walking contradiction who somehow made every day feel like a bad improv sketch performed by a guy who only rehearsed the punchline. And when Stephen Colbert and Alec Baldwin take aim at him, it isn't just a roast, it's a full-blown demolition. Colbert brings the scalpel, Baldwin brings the sledgehammer, and together they dismantle Trump's carefully inflated image until all that's left is a man who turned the presidency into his own reality TV spinoff.
Unlike your ability to sleep at night, the Epstein scandal will not go away. The president denied that Attorney General Pam Bondi informed him that his name was in the Epstein files. So naturally, last night, the Wall Street Journal reported that Attorney General Pam Bondi informed the president that his name was in the Epstein files. I, for one, was shocked. What are you going to tell me?
I asked President Xi if they had a problem in China, but he said, no, me no like. Does better with the voice, I think, I must say.
China, president of China.
China.
Trump has always been obsessed with appearances, and Colbert wastes no time exposing that obsession for the comedy goldmine it is. The man literally spent decades branding his name on everything from steaks to wine to a fraudulent university, as if putting Trump on it instantly made it valuable. Colbert tears through this delusion by showing that Trump is less a businessman and more a glorified QVC salesman who can't stop selling junk to people who didn't ask for it. The only difference is that QVC has a return policy.
For years, before he was, reelected, and recently, since they all got into office, a bunch of high-ranking people in Trump's administration have kept promising to release the files surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, his mysterious clients, and his suspicious death. But now, suddenly, for reasons that I legally cannot think of, Donald Trump seems desperate to stop us from knowing who Jeffrey Epstein's clients were.
Then comes Alec Baldwin, who doesn't just parody Trump, he becomes the physical embodiment of Trump's absurdity. His exaggerated pout, his awkward hand movements, his nasal rambling, they all reduce Trump to a caricature of himself, which is exactly the point. Baldwin doesn't need to invent material. Trump provides it daily. The endless bragging, the invented superlatives, the way he takes credit for everything but responsibility for nothing. Baldwin captures it all like an artist sketching a self-parody in real time.
A memoir about this struggle and call it My Struggle.
Women can't be charged more than men for health insurance, okay? And number 4.
Secretary Clinton, you have 2 minutes to respond.
Oh, that's okay. He can have my 2.
Okay, Mr. Trump, 2 more minutes.
The thing about the blacks is that they're killing each other.
Colbert thrived because Trump is essentially a one-man circus. He can't resist being the center of attention, even when the attention is brutal. He is the rare politician who sees being mocked as proof of relevance. But Colbert dismantles that by highlighting the insecurity at the core of Trump's bravado. Every tweet at 3 a.m., every rambling press conference, every desperate attempt to control the narrative screams insecurity dressed up as dominance. Trump is the guy who insists he's winning while standing knee-deep in his own failures.
We don't know if he was doing the creepy crime, but we do have a cover-up. And just like the cover-up on his face, it is patchy and there's some really ugly under there. The incriminating details just keep coming out. For instance, this resurfaced 2010 Jeffrey Epstein deposition.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Okay, that's a slam dunk. Just say no.
And Baldwin hammers that home by turning Trump's every flaw into a punchline. The exaggerated hair flip, the strained pronunciation, the smug posture, it's all magnified until Trump looks less like a world leader and more like the manager of a failing casino who insists business is booming. The brilliance lies in the fact that Trump already talks like a parody, so Baldwin just gives the people the mirror they crave. Colbert digs deeper into the contradictions of Trump's persona. This is a man who claims to be a genius but struggles with basic geography, who insists he's a billionaire but spent years hiding his tax returns, who brags about strength yet whines about being treated unfairly. Colbert dissects each contradiction with surgical precision, stacking them up until the entire tower collapses under its own hypocrisy. Trump is less a strong man and more a thin-skinned landlord who stumbled into power because people confuse belligerence with authenticity. Trump's presidency, of course, provides endless fodder. Colbert points to the revolving door of staffers, the endless scandals, the bizarre rants. Trump went through cabinet members the way normal people go through coffee filters: use once, discard, and move on. The chaos wasn't a bug, it was the system. Colbert highlights that Trump didn't drain the swamp. He dug a moat, filled it with gators, and invited his friends to charge admission. Baldwin doubles down by exaggerating Trump's obsession with crowd size, ratings, and applause. This is a man who treated the Oval Office like it was the stage of a comedy club, except the jokes were all unintentional and the audience was held hostage.
In fact, yesterday, he said he was surprised anyone even cares about the guy.
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life.
That sentence was never a big factor in terms of word.
Baldwin's portrayal shows how every moment with Trump was a performance for validation, from the awkward dance moves at rallies to the endless rants about fake news. Trump wasn't leading, he was auditioning. Colbert skewers Trump's relationship with truth itself. Facts to Trump were optional, bendable, negotiable. He lied with such casual confidence that his supporters treated it like a feature, not a flaw. Colbert points out the absurdity of a president who could contradict himself in the same sentence and somehow convince his base it was strategy. Trump wasn't redefining truth, he was erasing it, replacing it with whatever version made him feel like the smartest guy in the room. And Baldwin takes that instability and puts it into physical comedy. Every twitch, every exaggerated pause, every ridiculous claim is amplified until Trump looks like a man arguing with his own reflection. Baldwin's parody doesn't just mock Trump's words, it exposes the sheer absurdity of how he delivers them. The squinting, the pointing, the smug smile, it's performance art built on delusion, and Baldwin milks every ounce of it.
You saying, I can't quite say it on live television, but basically, you said you wanted to
Grab them by the pussy. Martha, this black man is attacking me. Also, speaking of black men, you know who else should be in jail? Hillary Clinton. She's committed so many crimes. She's basically a black.
Colbert also highlights Trump's bizarre victim complex. Here was a man who lived in a golden tower, married supermodels, became president of the United States, and still insisted he was the most persecuted man in history. Colbert shreds that narrative by pointing out how absurd it is for the most powerful man in the world to constantly whine about being treated unfairly. Trump's presidency was less about leadership and more about hosting a 4-year-long pity party. Baldwin embodies that self-pity in a way that turns it into pure comedy. His parody Trump can't stop reminding people how unfair everything is, how rigged everything is, how mean the media is. Baldwin transforms Trump's constant whining into an exaggerated tantrum, like a spoiled child who can't believe the world doesn't bend to his will. The parody works because it's only a shade more dramatic than the real thing. Together, Colbert and Baldwin deliver a 1-2 punch that leaves Trump's image in ruins. Colbert brings the sharp wit, exposing the hypocrisy, the insecurity, the contradictions. Baldwin brings the exaggerated performance, turning Trump into a living cartoon. The result is a demolition so thorough that even Trump's defenders can't help but laugh, if only nervously.
Hey, Jeffrey.
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
Wow. Not a great sign when the pedophile is being asked if you're doing a pervert ride-along, and their response is, I'd like to invoke the entire Constitution, the Magna Carta, the Napoleonic Code, and just to cover my bases, let's throw in the entire Cheesecake Factory menu.
Trump always wanted to be remembered as larger than life, a historic figure who reshaped politics forever. Colbert ensures he's remembered as a walking punchline, a man whose greatest achievement was inspiring comedians to deliver their best work. He thought he was the hero of the story, but Colbert and Baldwin expose him as the clown who wandered into the spotlight and refused to leave. For all of Trump's bravado, all his posturing, all his insistence that he's the best at everything, Colbert and Baldwin revealed the truth. He's a man desperate for validation, terrified of irrelevance, and incapable of taking responsibility. They don't just roast Trump, they strip away the illusion, leaving only the insecure showman who tried to turn the highest office in the land into his own personal stage. And the brilliance of their destruction lies in its permanence. Every time Trump reemerges with another rant, another scheme, another desperate bid for attention, Colbert and Baldwin are there to remind the world that the emperor never had clothes, just a bad spray tan and a fragile ego. Trump wanted immortality, but what he got was comedy infamy.
Sex, cults, and murder are famously dull. That's why they call that movie Eyes Wide Shut, because everyone was asleep. But if for some reason you're still interested in finding out who's on Epstein's list, don't be.
I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. What did he say again?
He's lying, folks.
The irony of Trump's obsession with being remembered as a legend is that he has, in fact, achieved immortality, but not the kind he envisioned. History books won't describe him as a political genius, a master strategist, or a bold disruptor. Instead, he'll be remembered as the blooper reel of American politics, a man whose every public moment was either an embarrassment, a contradiction, or an unintentional comedy skit. Colbert makes it clear Trump isn't a cautionary tale about authoritarianism so much as he is a warning about what happens when a society mistakes reality TV confidence for actual competence. Trump loved to project strength, but what Colbert exposes so mercilessly is the weakness hiding in plain sight. The constant need for applause, the endless grievances, the fragile ego that shattered whenever a late-night monologue hit too close to home, it all painted the picture of a man who desperately wanted to be feared, but instead became laughed at. Colbert thrives on that dissonance, pointing out that true strength doesn't need validation, but Trump couldn't function without it. Every rally was less about policy and more about filling the cavernous void where genuine self-assurance should have been.
Each candidate will have 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
Boring.
Mr. President, I haven't even introduced the candidates yet.
Tell that to my Adderall, Chris. Now let's get this show on the road and off the rails.
And you did take the COVID test you promised to take in advance, correct?
Absolutely. Scout's honor.
Alec Baldwin takes that insecurity and amplifies it into physical absurdity. His parody Trump doesn't just want applause, he needs it like oxygen. He pouts, he preens, he waits for the crowd to roar before moving on to his next exaggerated boast. Baldwin turns Trump's neediness into slapstick, showing how the supposed alpha male behaves like a washed-up lounge singer demanding one more encore. The comedy lands because the parody isn't far from reality. Trump truly did measure his worth in cheers, ratings, and the size of his crowds, as if the presidency were an endless Vegas residency. And the chaos Trump left in his wake becomes another playground for Colbert's sharp wit. The scandals, the firings, the lawsuits, the indictments, it all reads like a never-ending soap opera with Trump cast as the melodramatic star who insists the script is unfair. Colbert picks apart how Trump managed to turn every controversy into a performance, always centering himself as the misunderstood hero, even when the evidence showed him as the bumbling villain. Trump didn't solve crises. He manufactured them, then complained about being the victim of his own mess.
Chris, I'm going to start this debate in the quietest voice possible. In the past, I have been big and loud, but tonight, I am a sweet little baby Trump.
That is good to hear. Our first question is for you, and it is about reproductive rights.
They're ripping babies out of vaginas.
Listen, Chris, I'm glad you raised this topic because what two better people are there to talk about women's issues? Me, a woman who has had a child and has taken birth control, and him, a man who is a child and whose face is birth control.
Baldwin drives that point home by turning Trump's denials and excuses into parody gold. His impersonation always hovers between arrogance and confusion, capturing the way Trump could never decide whether to double down on a lie or pivot to a new one entirely. Baldwin's Trump is forever improvising, forever contradicting himself, forever insisting on his own greatness while tripping over his own words. Summits looked less like diplomacy and more like open mic nights, with Trump bumbling through policy points he barely understood. Colbert relishes in pointing out how Trump wanted to be the dominant figure in the room, but often ended up as the punchline whispered behind closed doors. The man who claimed to command respect internationally became the tourist attraction of global politics, remembered more for his awkward handshakes and rambling speeches than any substantive achievement.
Well, President Trump has already introduced himself, so let's now welcome the Democratic candidate.
Boo, here comes the booing.
Former Vice President of the United States.
Allegedly.
And Senator from Delaware.
Not even a real state.
Joe Biden.
And Baldwin takes those mannerisms, the squints, the forced hand gestures, the lumbering posture, and exaggerates them into comedy so sharp it stings. His Trump doesn't inspire awe. He inspires awkward laughter, the kind you can't suppress even though you know you're watching a man who once had the nuclear codes. Baldwin's parody ensures that every time Trump tries to step back into the spotlight, audiences remember not the strongman image he wants, but the buffoonish caricature Baldwin immortalized. Together, Colbert and Baldwin turn Trump's legacy into a living museum of absurdity. They don't need to invent flaws. Trump supplies them endlessly. Trump looked like the clown prince of politics. The lasting impact of their demolition is that they've made it impossible to take Trump seriously again. No matter how he tries to rebrand himself, no matter how desperately he claws for relevance, the image of Baldwin's parody and Colbert's razor-sharp takedowns will always hover above him.
Let's talk immigration. Mr. Trump, why are your immigration policies better than Secretary Clinton's?
Because she wants open borders, and that is crazy. I mean, people are just pouring into this country from Mexico, and a lot of them are very bad hombres.
Oh, bingo, I got bingo. Sorry. I've been playing all year, and I got it. I have bad hombres, rapists, Miss Piggy, they're all living in hell, and if she wasn't...
Trump wanted statues, monuments, and history's praise. Instead, he got satire, parody, and history's laughter. And that's the wound that cuts deepest. Not because it makes him irrelevant, but because it makes him unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. Trump's greatest fear was always being ignored, and Colbert and Baldwin ensured that would never happen. But they also guaranteed he'd be remembered not as the titan he imagined, but as the man who turned politics into stand-up fodder, the illusion of power, competence, inevitability. Colbert dismantles the myth with satire that cuts deeper than any policy critique. Baldwin embodies the farce, reminding everyone that Trump's act was never one of leadership, but of performance. Together, they didn't just roast him, they defined him, and in doing so, made sure his name will forever echo not in reverence, but in ridicule. And the best part? Trump will keep giving them material, because he can't resist the spotlight, can't resist the performance, can't resist the chance to prove the comedians wrong. Yet every time he tries, he only proves them right. Colbert and Baldwin don't even have to work anymore. The punchlines write themselves. All they have to do is hold up the mirror, and Trump's reflection does the rest.